Good evening and welcome to the Winnetka Village Council regular meeting for April 15th, 2025. I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask everyone to please mute your cell phones and other electronic devices, which I will do too. And I'll ask Rob to do a roll call for attendance.
Thank you. Trustee Dahlman? Here. Trustee Alvinson?
Here.
Trustee Dearborn?
Here.
Trustee Orsic?
Here.
President Rentz?
Here.
Then you'll read Rob, and then I'll...
What's it? Okay. Okay, Trustee Epitoff has provided the required notice that he is unable to attend tonight's meeting due to work obligations. Our rules provide that Trustee Epitoff may participate remotely unless 2/3 of the board objects. Is there any objection? Seeing none, Trustee Epitoff may now participate remotely, fully in the public and closed session meetings, and the minutes should so reflect.
Trustee Apatow?
Here.
Okay.
Oh, there you go. All right, item 2 is the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll lead us this evening. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item 3 is quorum check.
Yes. Looking at the month of May, the May 6th, the 13th, and the 20th.
I won't be here on the 20th.
On the 20th? Okay, thank you. All good? Good, Rob? Okay, thank you.
All right, item 4 is public comment. This is the time of the evening where anybody in the audience who wishes to may address council on any item that is not on the agenda. So if you're here for Arbor Day or, oh, we got a bunch of them, but we're not sure what they're here for, so.
Here, right here.
Oh,
Some of them said.
oh my goodness, now I have to parse this all out. Okay, if you're here to talk about anything on the agenda, now is not the time to talk. If you want to talk about anything else, then I'll call you up here and you can share your thoughts with us. Heidi Sikora?
Here?
Yes. Oh, you said item 9A.
Right.
That would assume that I know what's on the agenda.
It's on the backside.
Just,
You gotta flip it off.
hold on, let's see here, Heidi, hold on. 9. Oh, okay, that's THC, so you'll be later. Jim Pratt's here for 9A. Aaron Martin is here for Elder Beach, which is not on the agenda. So Aaron, you can come on up and share your thoughts.
I go here? Okay. Hi there. My name is Erin Martin, and I live on Sunset, close to New Trier East and close to Elder Beach. When my family first moved here, I think my daughter was in 3rd grade, my son was in kindergarten. First night, we went out on the beach for the picnic, had an incredible time, and thought, this is such an amazing place that we have found, that we're gonna live. So cut to 2020, beach ends up being closed. They tell me I have to move my kayak to Lloyd, which is fine. And then cut to 2023. Today's the 15th, and it was August 15th of 2023. And I woke up early in the morning and helicopters were over my house. And went out for a walk with the dog, stumbled into my neighbor, Cindy Bennis, and she looked stricken. And I said, what's going on? And she said, I just was down by Elder Beach, and there was a young girl that was there with her dad. And they came up to me and they said, have you seen my son? Have you seen my brother? And she said, no. And she said what haunted her was the woman standing at the gate, looking out over Lake Michigan, looking for her son. And turns out that I then, a few days later, came across the Chicago Tribune and found out that he had gone out on Elder Beach and jumped off the pier and did not resurface. And so I remember reading in the Chicago Tribune that I think the quote was, we have spent hundreds of hours trying to open the beach for a variety of reasons. We were not able. In the meantime, we need to secure that the beach and the present people from going down there and putting themselves and others at risk. So it's now been 20 months, and Months go by quickly for all of us. My daughter is turning 16 in 2 weeks, and my son is turning 13. And I just went down to Alder Beach. And there's 2 signs that are there. I just kind of walked around them and walked down. We have got to make the beach safe. And I don't know Park District versus Village versus everything that's happening, but I'm just asking you as a mom and as a community member, it's been too long. It doesn't need to look amazing, but that pier is so dangerous. It's horrible down there. I don't know whether you guys have been down there as of late, but there are hundreds of people down there each week. And I'm just asking the village, again, I don't know the politics behind it, but if we could just make Alder Beach safe for our families and our communities, everybody's down there all the time. Thank you.
Thanks. See who else I got here? Jeffrey, are you here for just general comments? Come on up.
Jeffrey Liss, 640 Winnetka Muse, and I'm glad I don't have anything quite as serious as that to talk about. I have to be somewhere else, I'll be very brief. 2 things. First, when Chris first took over the presidency or agreed to run for the presidency, one of his major platforms was do it now, get it done with. Take things off the table and put them on and get it done with. And I just want to say I think he's done a really good job of that, and so I wanted to thank him for that. The second part of his platform, remember, was transparency, to try to bring the community in as much as possible, to give them as much chance to speak as possible, and to listen carefully, even if you didn't want to hear what they had to say, or talked interminably, but I want to thank him for that. Now, if I had more than 3 minutes, I could probably list a lot of other good things, but since I only have 3 minutes, Chris, you're going to have to do without that. Anyway, thanks very much.
Thank you, Jeff. Back to the list. Caught me off guard a little bit. James Hemmings, you're here for what used to be an agenda item. Peggy Marte is...
It's still on the agenda. It's 9A.
It'll be off in a few minutes, James.
I think 9A.
9A.
9A?
THC.
Which one's that? Oh, the THC? Okay. Never mind. You'll be later. Peggy Marte on Elder Beach.
Hello, my name is Peggy Marte. I live on Sunset Road in Winnetka, and I've lived here for over 50 years. One of the best parts of our community is our beautiful lakefront. We love taking our children there to the beach during every summer. Unfortunately, one of our beaches has been closed for 5 years while plans have been developed and currently not approved. How much longer can this go on? While people argue for hours and hours over what has been planned by the Park District, I think it's time to make some changes so that residents can enjoy Elder Beach. Despite the fact that it has been closed, we all know that teens are there. Currently, it is not a safe place to hang out. I would like to suggest that the dangerous pier be fenced and the beach be cleaned. While this is not a long-term solution, it would allow the beach to reopen and residents to be able to enjoy the wonderful part of Winnetka. I have children and grandchildren who actually live on Elder and would love to use that beach. Please, it's time for action on your part. Let's find a temporary fix. It can be done by summer. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Peggy. Jennifer Hernandez, you're here for the Dog Beach ordinance. That's going to be coming off.
More Elder Beach, actually.
Okay, come on up. Now you don't have to stick around all night.
So it's kind of odd I'm here. I feel like your position's really changed in the last 5 years since my daughter Luisa Hernandez started coming up with her against the gas leaf blowers. I think we've made a lot of progress on that. I'm hoping that I can make as much progress as she has tonight. It's Jennifer Hernandez. I live at 400 Sheridan Road. First, I do want to thank the village for contracting for the extra security for our village. It's a start, and we can hopefully continue to add qualified officers to our police force as resident safety must continue to be a priority. I've spoken with several of you or your predecessors about personal experiences you have also had with real and scary recent crime in our town. Next level violent crime that did not exist 18 years ago when Louis and I first moved here. I recently spoke at the park board meeting about airtime certain individuals have gotten from our boards. The latest, this is a very brief comment on unleashed dogs on Centennial Beach, which butt up against two particular properties, both owned by the same family. As the recent victim of actual violent crime in Winnetka, I find this highlighted unleashed dog agenda item appearing first on the Park District Board agenda and now on the Village Board agenda offensive. This needs to end now. Please pass the proposed unleashed dog ordinance this evening so we can end this silly issue and focus on real crime and safety issues, not unleashed dogs on Centennial Beach. Another of these known safety issues is Elder Beach and its pier. You know, as many said tonight, my family and my younger kids, we have 5 daughters. My older kids every day spent at Elder Beach. Unfortunately, my younger 2 really don't know that beach at all. My 18-year-old is heading up to Harvard in the fall, and I really want her on that beach this summer. Elder Beach has been closed for 5 years now. The pier has been unsafe for as many years with dangerous debris in the water that must be removed before the summer season. Regardless of what is happening or not happening with the park board, this village council has an overriding obligation to keep our kids safe this summer. It's my understanding you do have the power to take action and maintain the safety of Elder Beach and its pier. The village board needs to step in and contract for overdue maintenance issues at Elder Beach and the surrounding waters. We have already had tragedy at Elder Beach. We just prayed for the young gentleman at Mass on Sunday. No one wants to see another tragedy this summer. I paddle by Elder Beach often over the summer. There aren't many of us, but there are always kids on that pier. We are not keeping the kids off of Elder Beach this summer, whether it's New Trier kids, whether it's Glenbrook South kids, where I grew up. Please use your village authority and take action and open Elder Beach safely this summer. Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer. Tom Barron?
Hi, I'm Tom Barron. I live on Trap Lane. I thought this was your last meeting, so I came up to say thank you. So I may not be here on May 6th, but thank you for everything you've done. I really appreciate
Maybe
it.
I won't be there either.
I know.
You know how I hate to say goodbye.
I'll put out an APB. The other thing I wanted to just address very quickly was I'm involved with the group that's kind of pushing the agenda on the renewal of the IMEA contract. And I was happy to hear that that will probably not be signed in the near future. But I wanted to thank you for that, for being thoughtful and taking more time to make the right decision. One of the things I read in my readings this week was in the United States in 2024, of the new power generation brought on across the country, approximately 90% of that new power generation was renewables. The majority was solar, some wind. I imagine a de minimis amount of hydro. But between cost, environmental impact, and all the other variables that go into it, I just want to thank the trustees for being thoughtful in the decision. I had a boss who, I'd go to him and tell him we should do this, we should do that, and he had a phrase, "In God we trust, all others must bring data." So please be thoughtful, or continue to be thoughtful, and I appreciate all your hard work. Thanks.
Thanks, Tom. Would anybody else like to speak before I close public comment? Seeing none, we will close public comment. And I'll keep the list up here for a couple of people who are still waiting. All right, item 5 this evening is reports. We'll start with the trustees. We'll start down with Tina.
No report.
Kirk?
No report.
Bob?
Pardon my hoarse voice, but I just want to, we have a big
agenda tonight that involves the EFC, Environmental Forestry Commission. Several of the members, at least a couple of the members, I think, are here. They've done great work under the leadership of Patrick Hanley, who's here and will be presenting. So I think this is kind of an EFC night, and I'm proud of that group, and there's more to come on that. So thank you.
Great. Bridget?
No report.
Mr. Apatow?
No report tonight, thanks.
Okay. Village Attorney? No report tonight. Village Manager?
No report, thank you.
And Village President. I have a couple items here. The first one is that ordinance number MC02, 2025, regarding the dog beach area at Centennial will be deferred to a subsequent meeting, if at all. So we won't be speaking about that this evening. I'll give you a little background on it. The village was really desirous to do anything in their power to aid in the Park District getting the beaches open down at Centennial and at Elder. And one of the obstacles to opening Centennial up was evidently there was a county ordinance that requires dog fencing or some such thing. And, you know, in an effort to respond to the request of the community to get the beach open, we moved and thought of a lot of different ways we might be able to help the Park District get where they needed to be. Having our own ordinance as a home rule community is not an unusual thing, and we thought that might be a way to go. I will admit, we were all rushing around because, you know, summer's coming. We want to get the beaches open, right? But we didn't give this enough time to simmer and think about and think through some of the unintended consequences that may come from an ordinance like this, along with the, you know, the political issues surrounding it. So at this point, we're going to put it on the back burner. Bob will either bring it forward when he feels like it's appropriate, or he may not bring it forward at all if it's something that doesn't seem necessary, if we can get the beaches open. So we're pulling it off the agenda tonight. So if you were here to talk about that tonight, sorry, that's not going to be part of the conversation. Secondly, I wanted to at least leave behind some of my thoughts. This is my last meeting, I mean, for all intents and purposes. Next week, we'll all show up and maybe I'll wear a suit, I don't know. You know, and that'll be it. I'll be out of here, hopefully by 7:30 so I can go walk my dog. But you know, the thing is being here in the center seat, your job is to really make sure that there's good dialogue amongst the trustees, because I don't vote unless there's a tie. And so it's really important that all of my colleagues have the ability to speak their mind, to share their thoughts, to go back and forth. And so I'm kind of more of a facilitator than anything else in that role. And as a result of that, I typically try to avoid jumping in with a lot of hard opinions, except for items that have been on my agenda since the day I took office. So stormwater, you know, the downtown, thank you. The post office, you know, those sort of things, yeah, I've got something to say about it because that's what I came here to do. But I didn't come here to do beaches and the like. So, but the one thing that's really been troubling me is, and it hasn't been a negative issue, but it's just been concerning because this village council has done an amazing, I mean, you know, 20, 30, 50, 100 hours worth of discussion, information review on this IMEA contract. And, you know, it's hard to sit up here as a public official sometimes and hear people lambasting you for, you know, not considering enough. And really, when the issue is you're not considering what they would like you to consider. And, you know, that makes it very difficult to have these conversations. But on the IMEA thing, we've done our homework. We've been deep, deep, deep into it for almost 2 years now. And online conversations, offline conversations, we've done it all. And the one thing that occurred to me as I'm nearing the end of my term here is that the beautiful thing about local public service, about this, is you can really do things that make a difference to the people in your life, your friends, your neighbors, the community. You know, it's that close contact. You can make a difference that you can see and that your friends and family can feel. That's always been the attraction for me. And the thing that's been troubling me a bit about the IMEA discussion is the fact that I don't think we're being given the credit, number one, for doing the deep research we've done. Yes, there's a lot of good alternative thinking out there. We've already thought of it, to be honest with you. We're going through the motions because we've been asked to. Okay? But the bottom line with this whole IMEA thing is that this village council has its first and only responsibility to the members of this community. You know, it's nice to think about all these international and worldwide plagues and everything, and you know, with this particular issue, it's the coal-fired power plants. You know, 20 years ago, we stepped up and joined an organization that partially funded the construction of a coal plant in southern Illinois. Looked like a good idea at the time. We took on bond debt of about $40 million, which we have been paying ever since 2008, and we will continue to pay to 2035. So, you know, we stepped up and we've made an intense, I mean, by Winnetka standards, $40 million is a lot of money, okay? And that money was collected from all the residents from your electrical bills, because 75% of your bill is how much it cost us to purchase the power, and the other 25% of your bill was servicing the debt that we took on to be part of this organization and access power. Secondarily, this arrangement with IMEA allows us to use our own plant here down on Lake Michigan and generate power when it's needed. And we get called on a very regular basis during the summer to fire up the plant and start sending electrons out of Winnetka so that people in other parts of the country can use them. The important thing to recognize here isn't the fact that we've got a plant, we can turn it on and make power, but that we actually get compensated for that. And over this period of time, we have been compensated over $47 million back on energy that we've sold out onto the grid. That is a benefit directly to the residents of this community because that comes right off the tax levy every single year. 1.4, 1.5, 1.8, you know, depends on the year. Comes right off the bottom. That is money that this village council does not have to ask from the residents of its community. So there's a lot more to this IMEA deal than just buying coal because they happen to be an investor in a coal power plant. The reality of it is our debt ends in 2035. Our membership ends in 2035. What person in this community on any other issue would recognize that we would be walking away on a $40 million investment with zero return? Because in 2035, lo and behold, our cost of purchase power, which directly shows up on your electric bills, will be reduced by 25%. That's a big number. And we've been on level ground with Commonwealth Edison the whole time I've been in village government, which goes back to 2008. So we've done a damn good job of the arrangement that we've made with IMEA and the way we've fashioned our ability to put power back on the grid. So, you know, I look at this and think to myself, why would we walk out the door in 2035 without any ability to recoup the $40 million that we've invested? And I have a hard time reconciling that. You've all read the articles in the Tribune over the past few weeks about coal plants which are dying on their own, thank you to the market. And I don't think anything that the current president is going to do is going to change the market dynamics of coal unless he decides to start subsidizing it, which I can't see. We all know coal's bad. Okay, it's there. If Winnetka pulls out of IMEA, it will mean nothing to Prairie State. If Naperville pulls out of IMEA, it will mean nothing to Prairie State. If IMEA pulls out of Prairie State, they'll just say, fine, we've been forced to sell you cheap power because you're an owner. Now we can turn around to the marketplace and sell it for even more. you start to see there's a lot more into this thing than just a bad plant in southern Illinois that we happen to be one of the co-financers for. So we can't move the dial on these national issues here in Winnetka. We are a 4% owner in a, how big is that plant? 100? I can't remember. Yeah. It is. They crank out a lot of power. Ultimately, the plant's going to die. You know, between the state government and the feds, you know, we all know that by 2045, these things are pretty much going to be shuttered or are supposed to be. Yes, there'll be waivers and political maneuvering. We all know about that stuff. But the thing that caught my eye the most was the fact that the market is starting to catch up with coal. And it is becoming now, because there's a political pressure not to use it, along with the fact that other modes of energy production are beginning to be competitive on a cost basis. That all said, it makes absolutely no sense for me as a leader in this community to think that I would turn my back on an investment that the residents of this community have made for the last 20 years and say, well, you know, thanks, but we're not going to take advantage of all the hard work and the effort that we put into this thing. I fully understand the coal thing. Everybody up here does. We all know coal's bad. I mean, and that's not the issue. The issue is if we do anything different, it's not going to make a difference. And some people might argue that there would be a difference to be made. But who hears 11,000 people in Illinois in the world? You know, we can make noise. Sure, everybody heard about us when a billionaire was building a massive mansion on the lakefront. But, you know, it would be a statement that would last a day, and it would fall into obscurity. I think the reasonable thing for this community is to sit down with IMEA, make sure that we have a clear understanding of their strategies for renewables, and make sure that we can take the highest advantage of that and do the best with what we have. Walking out into these power aggregators, or whatever they call them, this is a nightmare. I mean, folks, we're 11,000 people in this town. We don't have the horsepower to go out and hire a whole department to play the energy markets for us on an ongoing basis. And it wouldn't be a good service for the community as well. And I think it would create a lot more issues than we need. The power plant and the electrical service in this town has been a non-issue since I've lived here, since I first moved here in '92. A non-issue. And when there is an issue, what do you see? 20 minutes later, there's Winnetka yellow trucks out in front of your house fixing the lines. I know a lot of people aren't going to like me for what I'm saying about this. I care deeply about the environment, but this isn't a decision about the environment. It's a decision about what's best for this community and best for the residents and how we best financially steward this operation as it moves forward. So I don't know where council will take it. I'll be off by then. You guys will be the ones voting, right? But I think it's important for all of you to understand that there's a lot more to this thing than just bad old IMEA and a bunch of guys out there, you know, selling their goods that we know nothing about at this point in time. And we're not going to be pressured into making a bad decision for this community. So that's my statement on that. You guys want to hear about the beach, or we had enough for tonight? Kathy's going, no. All right, I'll leave the beach for a later date. Maybe I'll do an op-ed on that one. All right, that's it for me. So we can move forward. We'll move on to item 6. Ironically, we've got our EFC here this evening for the Arbor Day proclamation and the awards. So I hope I didn't sound like too much of a cretin there. For 32 consecutive years, the village has been recognized as a Tree City USA by the Arbor Day Foundation, supporting the community tree care program. And our village forester, Andrew Luck, will read the proclamation this evening. Better you than me, Andrew.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. So whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, the Council of the Village of Winnetka do hereby proclaim Friday, April 25th, 2025, as Arbor Day in the Village of Winnetka, and we urge all citizens to support efforts to protect our trees and woodland and to support our village's urban forestry program. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Do we get free trees anymore?
Yeah, that is part of our Arbor Day observance on the 25th, so we'll have a bunch of free trees and other plants at our Public Works facility.
Awesome.
So,
Thank you. Great. I know. Minor detail. Sorry, folks, you're witnessing what was pretty normal for Village Council with me in the middle seat here. I lost my place in the agenda. Oh, may I have a motion to approve the proclamation by omnibus vote?
So
vote.
moved. Second?
All right, that'll be a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. That's what threw me. Did we do that? Oh, never mind. Item B this evening is the butterfly. I'm totally screwed up here, folks. The Monarch Butterfly Proclamation. Each year, the National Wildlife Federation asks units of local government participate in the Mayor's Monarch Pledge, which was promoted by Liz Kunkel back there, and I think it's a really great thing. Tonight, Council will approve the 2025 Monarch Remembrance Day Proclamation to show support and promote monarch butterfly conservation. And our Sustainability Coordinator, Elise Steiner, will read this proclamation.
Thank you.
Putting the staff to work.
And before I read the proclamation, I would like to thank the council and the village staff and EFC commissioners for supporting sustainable development throughout Winnetka and for bringing me on board as the first sustainability coordinator for the village. Kicking off the Green Award nominations and managing the selection process was one of my first assignments, and I was overjoyed but not surprised by the submissions we received this year. Each of our winners deserves recognition for the time, talent, and treasure they have dedicated to making Winnetka a better place to live now and in the future. And it's fitting to present the Green Awards alongside the Monarch Proclamation tonight, as these homeowners took steps to add much-needed native habitat to sustain pollinators, butterflies, and birds while they visit the area each year. And with that, I'll now proceed to read the proclamation. Whereas the monarch butterfly is an iconic North American species whose multi-generational migration and metamorphosis from caterpillar to butterfly has captured the imagination of millions of Americans, and whereas individual monarchs will fly up to 3,000 miles from their summer homes in America's backyards and grasslands to wintering grounds in Mexico's forests. And whereas 20 years ago, more than 1 billion eastern monarch butterflies migrated to Mexico each year, but experienced population declines of up to 90% in recent years. And whereas habitat loss, increased use of pesticides, climate change, and lack of proper food sources contribute to this decline. And whereas the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has proposed listing the monarch as a threatened species under the Endangered Species Act. And whereas every citizen of Winnetka can make a difference for the monarch by planting pollinator-attracting native plants to provide habitat for the monarchs and other pollinators in locations where people live, work, learn, play, and worship. And whereas, on behalf of the residents of the village who are already and planning on creating healthy habitat for these migrating butterflies, the Village Council is honored to lead the way by signing the National Wildlife Federation's Mayor's Monarch Pledge. And we encourage other officials across the United States to take a stand with us so that the monarch butterfly will once again flourish across the continent. Now, therefore, the Council of the Village of Winnetka do hereby proclaim Tuesday, April 15th, 2025 as Monarch Butterfly Remembrance Day in the Village of Winnetka.
Thanks, Elise. That was nice. Where am I at here again, Rob? I look for the list again. Gotcha. All right, may I have a motion to approve the proclamation?
So moved. Second.
That's a voice vote as well. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Item C, the Environmental and Forestry Commission Green Awards. For the past 7 years, the EFC has administered the annual Green Awards program recognizing sustainable and environmentally friendly practices. EFC Chairperson Patrick Hanley is here to present, along with, can somebody help? There's 3 presenters?
Commissioner
Okay.
Kunkel.
Liz Kunkel and Greg Frazados.
He's not here with us tonight.
Oh, he isn't.
Just the two of us.
His name is.
Okay. Great. Thank you all so much. Good to see you this evening, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to give out these Green Awards. First, I just want to really thank Elise for pulling this together. She took a manual process based on PDFs and emails, turned it into a very easy-to-use form, and did a really nice job with that, and also went and grabbed awards which are beautiful and I think reflect on the values that we're trying to share. We did go with 3 awards this year, in part because there were 3 very different submissions. And the way that I view these awards is the opportunity to highlight different things that residents and businesses can do to engage in sustainability. And so these 3 awards reflect 3 very different ways that folks can participate in that. So for our first award, is that? I think we're going to put them up on the screens in just a minute, potentially. Thank you so much. So, is this yours, Collins?
Oh, thank you.
So I think Liz is going to present the first award.
Sorry, I don't even have my glasses.
That's okay.
Patrick's going to present the first
No
award.
problem. So the first award goes to Christina and Michael Collins. Christina and Michael, are you here with us? Please join us. So Christina and Michael Collins dedicated a portion of their yard to native planting and did a really beautiful job. They've seen the fruits of that planting already in diverse native species coming through the yard. And we just wanted to highlight the opportunity for residents to set aside part of their land and dedicate that back towards plants that are going to improve our broader ecology in the village. So thank you so much for doing that. Do you have a few words you want to share about your yard?
Sure.
Great.
Hello, everyone. I'm Christina Collins, 807 Burr Avenue. And we have a long, narrow lot, and we weren't using the back half of it at all. So we took out the old rundown swing set, took out the sod, thinned the trees a little so there'd be more light, and worked with Mariani Landscaping to plant native varietals that are designed to create habitat throughout the seasons and also to provide food throughout the seasons, including the short little red berries, bushes with berries there, are a type of native varietal that has a berry that they don't like especially well, so they leave it on the plants late into the winter until the other food sources are depleted. And we get to look at the pretty red berries, and then they eat them when they're hungry. So they thought that all through. How can we have food all through the season and habitat? And now we're working on adding some shorter flowering plants and such in the spring that aren't in yet in this photo. And then we're going to add a water source so that they'll have water there. And we're hooking it up to our sprinkler system so that it will refresh twice a week as the sprinkler runs in the backyard, and it'll stay fresh and we won't breed mosquitoes and I won't have to deal with it. And we're going to put, up by the house, we're going to put a bird bath with a heating element that we can have fresh water in all through the year. And with the heating element, it'll stay thawed. And in the winter, I will have to fill that, but the rest of the year it will be filled and refreshed by the sprinkler system. So I thought if I wasn't using the back half of the yard, why not make it available for the critters and the birds and the insects to enjoy and help to create more habitat. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you.
We're going to present all the awards at once and take a photo with all of the awardees
receiving their awards together at
works.
the end. So, sorry.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Sorry to be awkward.
Thank you so much, Christina and Michael. Okay, very good. The next award is going to go to Eric Kaplan, and this is for a new build on the house, putting in all the bells and whistles that reinforce energy efficiency, environmental sustainability, electric vehicles, native planting, smart irrigation, just really putting a lot of thought into the house as built and what the house can do, and I think really sets a model for what future houses in Winnetka can look like and can achieve in terms of their sustainability goals. So many thanks to Eric Kaplan. Thank you. Come back. Do you want to come up and say a few words about the house?
I think this was a really fun project for my family and also just educating my kids on all the different things that we can do. A lot of them are very small, but they add up in totality to a lot of energy savings and giving back to nature with the butterfly garden that we put in. We have the organic garden in the back, which is really exciting for me because I get to show my kids like how food is actually grown, and we have a compost bin, so how we recycle all of the scraps of the food back into the garden to grow more food. The interesting thing is they will eat anything out of my garden, but if I take those same things and put them on their plate from the grocery store, they won't touch it. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you so much. Terrific. And then the third Green Award is going to be presented or shared by Liz, right?
Yes, this one I will do.
Perfect.
Is there someone here for the Potterfield?
Do you want to come say a few words about it?
Is there anyone here on behalf?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Okay. So this third award, and I want to honor also part of the reason we, the Environmental and Forestry Commission, decided to recognize 3 different properties is because each one has something to offer for different people and different audiences. The Collinses are on a standard size lot in Hubbard Woods. This is like, it's what every one of us has the opportunity to do in Winnetka. And then, I don't know the Kaplans, but I want to know you more. Seriously. I'll talk to you more. I'm a big compost person, so I love that you led with that. And then the Potterfields, a Hubbard Woods family who I know from when my kids were little in Hubbard Woods, and they just hosted the 4th grade breakfast. They live on Westmore, but between Westmore and Pine, and they have amazingly, luckily, just acquired a couple of different plats of land in there, and it's like a full-on English garden back there. And they started growing food and flowers, and they couldn't sort of sustain it all. They didn't want to waste anything, and so they created a charity out of it so they could give it all away. And they donate their flowers to people who can't leave their home, they're homebound, they're hospitalized. They've created this full-on charity, and it wasn't until the owners created this charity that they even would acknowledge that they were doing anything sustainable in our village. Before that, they were like, nope, we don't use, like, we're not organic, we're not pesticide-free, we're not sustainable. And I was like, not everybody in Winnetka can do this, but we all could aspire to this. This is amazing, and just, we're lucky to have them in our village. They're beautiful people. They just pay it all forward. This is their property in the backyard. It's, like I said, it's between Westmore and Pine, and they just did it because they could. They love it. It brings them joy. They want to pay it forward. And the charity is called the Backyard Flower Lab. So if you're interested in joining or finding out more, check out backyardflowerlab.org. And you can be part of this amazing process where you go pick flowers and create bouquets and deliver them to people who need them. And this is how some of our neighbors are choosing to utilize and leverage their properties here in Winnetka. So kudos to all of you. Seriously, thank you.
Terrific. Great. And so those are our 3 awards this evening. As you can see, the award itself is a composite of recycled materials found by Elise. So really beautiful awards.
It's actually hard to see. I like to say it looks like quartz. It's like really amazing. It looks like rock, and is it plastic bags? Yeah. It's recycled plastic bags, but it seriously looks like this amazing rock, and obviously it's keeping plastic out of landfill and out of waterways and out of our bodies. So it's really all good.
Great.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank
So
you, Elise.
congratulations to the award winners. I think maybe we'll do pictures in the hallway, if that makes sense. Very good.
You didn't make it.
Thank you. Shall we?
Yeah.
Thanks for doing that. Good stuff. Now I know why I was so confused. Item 7 tonight is the establishment of the consent agenda. I felt a little out of sync because usually we do that at the beginning. Okay, does any trustee wish to remove an item on the consent agenda for a separate vote? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve with final form of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second. That's a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? That motion carries. I will now ask Rob to read the items on the consent agenda.
Thank you. Approval of the Village Council minutes for February 27th, 2025 special meeting and April 3rd, 2025 regular meeting. Approval of the warrant list dated March 28th, 2025 through April 10th, 2025 in the amount of $829,697.67. Ordinance number MC 03-2025 amending the Winnetka Village Code to rename positions of Assistant Village Manager and Finance Director for introduction and adoption. Ordinance number M02-2025 authorizing the disposition of surplus personal property owned by the Village of Winnetka for introduction and adoption. Resolution number R39-2025 waiving bidding and approving an agreement with Rickman Contract Services Incorporated for meter reading services. Resolution number R40-2025 waiving bidding requirements and authorizing the procurement of vehicle barriers from the Meridian Rapid Defense Group Sales LLC and approval of annual outdoor seating area permits.
Thanks, Rob. All right, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda by omnibus vote?
So moved.
Second.
That's a roll call vote.
Trustee Albinson?
Yes.
Trustee Orsick?
Yes.
Trustee Apitoff?
Yes.
Trustee Dahlman?
Yes.
Trustee Dearborn?
Yes.
That motion carries. Thank you. All right, moving along. Item 9 this evening, ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance number MC 01-2025, amending Title 9 of the Winnetka Village Code to prohibit the sale of illicit THC products and kratom. This is up for introduction, possible adoption. Village staff has recommended prohibiting the sales of illicit THC and kratom projects. Tonight, council will consider the amendment of the village code to prohibit both THC and kratom in the village. And Police Chief Brian O'Connell is here to review this evening.
Thank you, President Rintz. Council, good evening. If I could just take a moment, if this is in fact your last meeting and I have the right at the podium, I want to thank you on behalf of the police department for all your support over the years, as well as my own personal development that you've given me support. You've dedicated service to this community, so thank you on behalf of the police department.
Thank you.
So council, tonight I'm going to try my best to present this in a way that I keep it high level and fair, because I know that this topic is something that each person has their own position on regarding THC and cannabis. I feel like I'm more of a professional in HVAC engineering than this, but I'll do my best, okay? I think it's important that we discuss some of the things that you saw drafted in the ordinance, what they mean. So I'm going to start with THC, which is tetrahydrocannabinol. It's the primary psychoactive compound found in the cannabis plant. It's responsible for the high or the intoxicating effect associated with cannabis consumption. So appreciating what THC is. A question commonly asked of the police department, is THC the same as marijuana? The answer to that is no. Cannabis. THC is not the same. THC, like I said, is the main psychoactive compound in cannabis, but marijuana refers to the dried leaves, the flowers, the stems, and the seeds of this cannabis sativa plant. So while THC is a component of marijuana cannabis, it is not the entire substance. So appreciating that. THC is one of many cannabinoids found in cannabis, but it's the one that's the most widely associated with the intoxicating effects. So THC is primarily what we'll be speaking about tonight. Transitioning to illicit drug discussion, the term illicit drug can be used to discuss a drug that is illegal to have, for example, methamphetamine, heroin, or cocaine. Those are illegal. It can also be used, though, to discuss the non-medical use of drugs that are legally available as painkillers or sleeping pills. So the illicit THC tonight is available, okay? The phrase illicit THC products is primarily based on three factors. One, the use or intended use for human consumption. Two, the product is not made, sold, manufactured, marketed by cannabis business establishments licensed under two main acts, the Compassionate Use of Medical Cannabis Program Act or the Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act. And then the last criteria here is products containing synthetic THC, which I'll discuss briefly, or excessive levels of delta-9 THC, which I will also explain in a little bit. Though they are products that contain those excessive amounts or synthetic THC. And when we go into this, what you'll see in the ordinance that was laid out in the section is about the criteria of the weight percentage, of dry weight, the excess of milligram measurements. Those are all laid out in the ordinance. Lastly, these products often pose health risks due to unknown ingredients and potential contamination. So, what is an illicit THC product? In Illinois, an illicit THC product is defined as any substance containing a THC synthetic that is not legally manufactured, sold, or distributed by a licensed business. These products that are listed in the ordinance include Delta-8 THC, Delta-9 THC, Delta-10 THC, THCO, and other synthetic forms of THC. Why are you seeing some places prohibiting their use or sale? You're seeing these being prohibited because they are not subject to the same quality control and safety standards as legally produced cannabis products. For example, what is sold in distillery or dispensaries. This means they may contain unknown or harmful ingredients. They may not, but they may contain harmful ingredients. They may be contaminated. They may not be accurately labeled. So the health risks. They pose several, and I believe that most of them are probably unintentional. But the ingestion of harmful substances poses a risk. This lack of regulation means that product may contain an unknown or a dangerous chemical. The inconsistent dosing is another concern. The strength and potency of illicit THC products can be unpredictable and may lead to accidental overdoses. They also have unknown long-term effects. The studies are not there yet to identify what the long-term risks are with these products. And what I want to make sure that I highlight, though, the importance of legal cannabis in regards to these synthetic THCs is when they're produced in Illinois, they undergo a rigorous testing and quality control evaluation to ensure safety and potency. This helps protect the consumers from harmful products and ensures that they know what they are consuming if they decide to consume it. Another substance that we're discussing tonight is kratom. What is kratom? I had to look it up myself. Kratom is from a tropical tree, and I apologize, I'm going to butcher this. It's Mitragyna speciosa. That is the native. It's native to Southeast Asia. Products prepared from kratom leaves are available in the U.S. through sales on the internet and through mostly brick and mortar stores. Kratom is often used to self-treat conditions such as pain, coughing, anxiety, depression, opioid use, or a opioid disorder or withdrawal. There are no drug products containing kratom or its two main chemical components that are legally on the market in the United States. Not to get too far down the trail here, but I think it's important that I talk about that the FDA has not approved any prescription or over-the-counter drug product that I'm aware of containing kratom or its two main chemical components, which are mitaguanine, and 7-hydroxymoxicin. Thank you. They've also identified that kratom is not appropriate for use as a dietary supplement. And the FDA has concluded from available information, including scientific data, that kratom is a new dietary ingredient for which is inaccurate. I am stumbling on this one. That is, the information is not available to provide reasonable assurance that such ingredients does not present a significant or unreasonable health risk. So based on the determinations by the FDA, kratom is not lawfully marketed as a dietary supplement and cannot be lawfully added to conventional foods. So now, appreciating the background on the THC, what THC is, the products being sold as synthetic THC, they are being sold locally in communities. The health risks and concerns that I've discussed, staff's recommending the amendment to the Village Code prohibiting the sale of illicit THC products and kratom. So with that, I'll take any questions. I'll try to do my best to answer them for you.
Questions for Chief?
Chief, sorry, my voice. The products that you mentioned, are they available at the dispensaries? All of these, you know, the THCO, Delta 8, 9, 10, blah, blah, blah. Are they all available at the dispensaries?
So I don't know the answer to that. I've never been in one.
Okay.
Don't want to be in one. I'm sorry, I can't answer that. I'm not sure about that answer.
Okay.
But my understanding is what's protected under these acts that I discussed before are what the dispensaries operate under, and they're operating off of the plant, not synthetic makeup and chemical compound makeups.
Okay.
Trustee Epitoff has a question.
Sure.
Hi, Chief. Are there actually stores in the village that sell this?
Yes.
Are there stores in other communities that sell this? That are we talking to other so they just can't walk 5 minutes away and get it in Wilmette or somewhere else? Are we talking to those other police officers or those other chiefs to see if they're going to do the same thing?
So I have not looked at other municipalities. Our police department evaluated all the stores in our community, and I identified one store that is currently selling this discussed synthetic. But other municipalities are taking on similar action in regards to this ban or prohibiting sale.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the product? I'm curious what's being sold. I mean, like, I'm not familiar with any of this stuff really, but like when I go to the pet store, I know they sell CBD oil for, dogs that have anxiety. We're not talking about that. These are separate products, these synthetic forms of THC, and what would they be marketed as?
Yes, so what they're being currently marketed as in our community primarily is in a gummy form. There are other forms available, but when you talk about CBD versus THC, the easiest way I could describe it is it's the opposite end of a scale. THC has a psychoactive response. CBD is a calm response, and there's many more different effects in between. But that's the easiest example I can give you right now. But I could go into that if you'd like.
No, that's helpful. I'm just curious why they can legally sell. I mean, why we have to pass an ordinance, and why isn't this somehow covered under state law and maybe that's a question for the village attorney. I don't know.
So I could try to touch on maybe a part of this in my notes.
Yeah.
Just give me a second.
Because I think the CBD oils and those sorts of products have the THC removed. And it seems like the legalization of marijuana provided for THC to, products with THC have to be sold in dispensaries. Although I guess people can grow it for their own use or whatever. There's that exemption. I mean, why are THC products not subject to those limitations under state law.
So maybe I could answer part of this for you, if not all of it. This is not in our Illinois compiled statutes book about the history of where this came from, but I did a little research prior to this, and I'm just going to read something to you is where what I believe is accurate. Certain parts of the cannabis sativa L plant are controlled under the Controlled Substances Act. That's been in effect since 1970 under the drug class marijuana, which is commonly referred to under this compiled statute. Marijuana is listed as a Schedule 1 on the CSA, which is the Controlled Substances Act, due to its high potential for abuse, which is attributable to, in a large part, to the psychoactive intoxicating effects of THC, and the absence of currently accepted medical use in the United States. This was before. From 1970 until December of 2018, the definition of marijuana included all types of cannabis sativa. So kind of part of the question why CBD is different. In 2018, the Agriculture Improvement Act of 2018, also known as the Farm Bill, removed hemp, which is commonly associated as CBD, okay? Well, compounds of it, and a type of cannabis that is very low in THC. So THC, right, Delta-9 is very high, CBD really low. But primarily the reason is cannabis or cannabis derivatives containing no more than 0.3% of THC on a dry weight basis, which is part of the statement in the ordinance. It removed that from the controls of the act in 2018. So this change in law may have resulted in more of a streamlined process for researchers to study cannabis, its derivatives, including CBD. I hope that did a little bit there.
What about age restrictions?
So currently, my understanding is the retail establishment in town is requiring an age of 21.
Is there any laws that state a different number? I mean, the state hasn't weighed in on this? No?
Is this, I'm sorry, is this sold in like a package that says this is for anxiety, or like what is, to follow up on Tina's question, what is it marketed for?
I think it just depends.
And is it behind the counter?
So it's I'm going to base all this on local here, is that it's behind a secured cabinet, and they have labels, all different labels on them. This one is Delta-9, THC, but labeling is up to the manufacturer about how they advertise for what it's for.
So is it like a variety of synthetic products that if one were not using synthetics would go to a dispensary and look at the counter and say, oh, I'll take this one for anxiety or this one for sleep or whatever? It's a whole variety at a local store?
I don't know if it gets into details about what they're used for, but there are options in the store locally about what can be sold in what would look like a pill bottle form, but with gummies inside.
What store is selling this? I mean, it feels like everybody may know. What's right over here? Oh, at Lakeside, okay.
Lakeside is selling.
Okay. Sorry. I want to understand.
Other questions? All right, let's open this up for public comment. Would anybody like to speak on this evening? Come on up.
Hello. Oops. I'm sorry, I do have a little bit of show and tell. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you tonight. My name is Heidi Sikora. I'm a retired nurse practitioner and healthcare executive. And I'm not going to talk at all about THC because I don't know much about it and I have not used that product. But I'm here to talk about Kratom, which is very different from THC. So as the chief said, Kratom comes from a leaf in Southeast Asia, and the main alkaloid is, it's actually metragenine, and there's like more than 40 alkaloids that balance each other. So it's not an intoxicating substance in the whole leaf product. So it's very similar to coffee or cheese in that, you get a little stimulation, a little, good feeling from it, but it's not like marijuana. It's a completely different product. So, so why is it important that I come here and talk to you about this? There's basically three main groups of people that will really be hurt from a sales ban. And those people are those with severe chronic pain like me, who really need something on a daily basis in order to be able to function. And then the second group are people with PTSD, like veterans, people with anxiety and depression, who really need something that will help, give them a little relaxation and sometimes a little stimulation as well. Very much the same as like a cup of coffee, but it's a little more effective for pain and also anxiety. And the third, and very important for access, are people, as the chief mentioned, people who are really trying to stay away from illicit drugs. And so they use that to manage their withdrawal symptoms. And there was actually a large study, more than 2,700 people, that indicated that 35% of people that had used it for withdrawing from opioids were opioid-free after a year. So that's really important for access. So, so the reason that this is important, and before I go on, I should say, I'm very much for regulation. I've been an advocate trying to get regulation passed in Illinois and Wisconsin and actually all over the United States. I think it's very important to regulate. We want these products to be safe and labeled and serving sizes and make sure it's 21 and up. If you can ban it, you can regulate it. So that's what I really want to encourage you to do. But I want you to understand how important this is. Any one of us, can end up in severe pain sometime in their life, and we want to make sure that there's access. So what are the choices? Okay, so Tylenol, it's effective, right? Very effective for pain control. But can you take it every day in doses that are going to treat severe pain? No. What's going to happen? It's the #1 cause of liver failure in the United States, Tylenol overdoses. This obviously is approved, but you still have to be concerned about safety. The next thing, Aleve, or ibuprofen, this class of NSAIDs. So with these, the same thing. You can take it short-term for short-term pain, but if you take this every day in doses that are going to be effective, you're going to end up with GI bleed and kidney failure. Now these, these are known facts. So that's a problem. Okay, so then we go on to the opioids. And I know the chief knows the problems that we have with opioids. Very effective for pain control, prescribed by a doctor, but it causes respiratory depression. That means that if you take too much of this, or if this gets into the wrong hands, this is deadly. It's still a good product to treat pain. We still need it, but it's not like Kratom. All right, so this is Kratom. This is a crushed leaf. It's just powder from Southeast Asia, mostly from Indonesia. This is a product that's tested. You can go online and get the lab test. You can look for contaminants, for the level of mitragynine. As the chief said, the level of mitragynine is really important because this breaks down in the body into 7-hydroxymitragynine. So that's 7-OH. It's a metabolite. It's not an alkaloid. And it's in very small amounts. So less than 2% of 7-OH is considered safe. In the natural plant, in part of the drying, sometimes you'll get some of the 7-OH, but it's very low, much less than 1%. And the 7-OH is the powerful substance. And it works out just fine in the body when you take it as a plant or even as an extract, because there's all these other alkaloids. I'm going as fast as I can. I
You know,
appreciate
I'm going
your
to have to.
patience, yeah.
Usually we allow 3 minutes and you're
I
on
know.
to 6. So-
Well, I appreciate it, but boy, it's just so important, okay? So here's the concern. This is 7.0. And so this says advanced kratom alkaloids. It's not kratom alkaloids. It is a teeny tiny bit of that 7.0H, if it's even in here. This needs to come off the market. It's synthetic. So I would love to be able to work with you and work on local regulation to make sure that this is available, because this is really effective. This gives people their life back. This is life-saving. So and I know I'm out of time, so any questions?
It's not question and answer.
Okay.
Thanks, Heidi.
Okay.
James, you want to say something?
First, thanks, President Rents, for your service. I know this is your last planned
Real
meeting.
meeting.
Yeah, but thank you very much for all you've done for the community.
Sure.
And thank you, Heidi, for your testimonial. I'm James Hemmings. I live at 747 Lincoln Avenue, and I'm here to clarify some of the facts relating to kratom and to suggest an amendment to the proposed ordinance, something that better aligns with the science and tries to solve the problem that you're trying to solve and that the chief has identified. I'm a resident of the village, and I'm also the general counsel of a company that produces kratom products, MIT 45. I'm here as a citizen, but you should know my affiliation with the industry, to do with that whatever you will. Kratom is not cannabis or THC, as Heidi pointed out. The use of kratom doesn't have the same pharmacological effects as cannabis. Kratom is entirely legal on the federal level. It's not a scheduled drug, for instance, and it's legal in Illinois. And I say this because the executive summary and some of the chief's comments improperly group THC and kratom. Kratom is a plant in the coffee genus. It's been used for millennia by people in Southeast Asia to give folks a little more energy, and for some of the reasons that Heidi's spoken about. It also has a characteristic of, anecdotally, the ability to provide pain relief. And just last year in the Journal of Pain, which is a very highly regarded study, a study reported on significant benefits of kratom users in their management of chronic pain. There are several very well-known companies that are evaluating kratom as a basis for an FDA-approved pain relief medication. The FDA itself is piloting a study of kratom, and the preliminary data from that study has been positive. In fact, the science doesn't support any suggestion that kratom is addictive. It's habit-forming, like many substances that do good things for folks is, but it's not addictive. And there's no or scant science to support the concept that it causes the other harms that were identified in the executive summary that was proposed with this ordinance. That's not to say that there aren't products out there on the market that are marketed as kratom that are harmful. There are, and Heidi talked a little bit about those. When you cure a kratom leaf, a naturally occurring alkaloid that happens is called 7-hydroxymetragenine. In the publications, they call it 7-OH. And 7-OH is not native to the kratom plant itself. It happens when you cure it, and there's oxidation that occurs, and then you have the formation of this alkaloid. Naturally occurring 7-OH in trace amounts, which is what Heidi was talking about, it happens in trace amounts, but there's no science to suggest that trace amounts of 7-OH are actually harmful to you. States that have regulated kratom have drawn the line of naturally occurring 7-OH at 2%, and that's what Heidi was talking about. The problem that exists in the marketplace is that there are some companies that artificially pack their products with 7-OH, synthetically produced, or there are some companies that actually sell purely 7-OH products. This is all synthetic. You can't economically produce a product that has more than naturally occurring trace amounts of 7-OH without synthesizing it. And this is important because unlike kratom itself, There are studies that show that unnaturally high levels of 7-OH are potentially addictive and present a significant health and safety concern. These are products that should be banned. My company is out there trying to get them banned, so we support a ban of those products. The ordinance before the council is both overbroad with regard to kratom and not sufficiently robust in terms of 7-OH products to solve the problem that is trying to be solved. Rather than banning the retail sale of kratom full stop, the focus should be on products with high levels of 7-OH, marketed as kratom or otherwise. I urge the council to amend section 9.20.020 such that the ordinance reads, "It is unlawful for any retail establishment to sell, offer for sale, give away, or deliver illicit THC products, comma, kratom products containing synthesized 7-OH or more than 2% 7-OH, comma, or other products containing synthesized 7-OH. In this way, the ordinance will be more aligned with the science and doesn't unduly deprive Winneckans like Heidi at retail of products that are truly beneficial to folks who use them." Thank you for your consideration.
Thanks, James. Anybody else?
So, hello, my name is Jim Pratt, and I am going to follow up these two, the similar position. We've already established that kratom is completely separate from THC and cannabis, and that it is used for a variety of uses from, similar to how one might use a cup of coffee in the morning for energy and focus, managing chronic pain, or weaning off of more harmful substance use, such as opioids. I guess to talk about some of the items that might not have been mentioned, I guess I'll focus a little bit on the safety element. Kratom in its natural form has had a lot of science behind it that has shown that it is in fact safe. The FDA actually ran their own study, an increasing ascending dose study, where they gave users more and more kratom and it monitored the adverse events that occurred to them as they had more. It took until 12 grams of kratom ingested, which is 24 pills, which is a lot by any measure, before they ran into their first adverse event, which was nausea. And I know in the executive summary there was some mention of some concerning symptoms that might occur from kratom. I imagine that the ones listed, such as seizures and hallucinations, those would likely be from an adulterated product, as the science does not support those types of reactions for raw kratom as we know it. As a matter of fact, the science continues to support a low addiction profile for kratom and not any symptoms of that nature. This has been further backed up by a failure to schedule kratom on the federal level in 2016, and then there were 2 attempts to do so at the UN, which has a lower standard for scheduling a substance, and the scientists there on the board were, at least at the first pass-through, unanimously convinced that the evidence was insufficient, that the danger was there with raw kratom. I would back up the comments that have been said earlier, that the focus here is really on regulation to make sure that these adulterated products are kept off of the market, and that we can stick to the safety profile that we know with regular unadulterated kratom. There, I believe, was some local ordinance passed in North Lake that had a proposal there to, the town had licenses that they gave out to select vendors, and there was an annual fee to help with enforcement costs there. And then also there have been the Kratom Consumer Protection Act has been passed in 14 states that have a good regulatory framework for making sure that you have an unadulterated substance that has proper labeling on it so you know what you're ingesting, and then also oftentimes in age restriction on it there. So I would urge the council to consider regulation and keeping the safe raw kratom available to users that depend on it every day for their various needs. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? I thought you wanted another bite at the apple. After the meeting, maybe. Would anybody else like to speak? Hearing none, I'll close public comment. Well, that was an interesting twist. What do you guys think?
It is interesting. I don't feel like tonight I can make a decision on this. I think it's interesting that what Mr. Hemming said about, whether the ordinance should be tweaked. I think it's interesting what Tina said about why doesn't the state already do this? So I feel like I've just started to think about this. I do know, and I can appreciate also what everyone said here, and I'm sure one of the chief's worries is I know that I had brought this up to a friend who I thought might know more about it than I did the other day, and her daughter heard us and said they just had a speaker who came in to tell them about their child who had died from fentanyl-laced kratom. So there's that, too, and I would presume that is not what is being sold at Lakeside. But I feel I need more information before I would be able to make a really thoughtful decision on this.
Others, jump in.
I have a question. What is prompting this topic? Don't mean looking at you, Chief, since you presented, but what presented this as an important item to bring to our attention?
I think that there's concerns about synthetic developments that are coming out with these products. I think there are concerns about the makeup of these with the chemical process to make them synthetic. I'm worried about they're here. We have a high volume of young adults that frequent this area and specifically this location. And I also think that this is this something that is the I'm not in a position that I would like to see a dispensary here in the community. That's my position on it, and I think that this may be the stepping stone for that. But I see kids over here all the time and going in and out of these stores, which is great, but they're also seeing these products on the shelves. And when they're manufactured and look like gummy bears and vitamins and things like that, it's a concern of mine about where it's going.
Yeah, I guess I'm with Bridget. I think I need to understand more about this, but I appreciate you bringing this to our attention because clearly I don't know anything really about it. And I do appreciate the concern the chief has raised. I mean, that was the whole thing with vaping, right? They made it seem like it was, they had bubble gum flavoring and all that stuff to make it appealing to kids. And, it's great that kids from Skokie and Washburn congregate at Lakeside after school to buy chips and soda, but I'd hate for this to normalize that this is somehow, a gateway into something that's more dangerous. Understanding that it sounds like it's an important substance, legal substance today that can be used by adults for really important reasons, I think we need to think about this a little bit more. It's not to say that, maybe it belongs more along where the dispensaries are that certainly, surround our community. It's access in other places. So I think I need to think about it more and learn more.
Yeah, I concur, Tina. Is there an age limit to buy this product?
So it's 21 for Lakeside.
Okay.
And at dispensaries, it's also 21.
Chief, that's self-imposed though, right? There isn't anything out there in the legal world that requires them to say 21.
Exactly, that's my concern. And I'm not looking to overregulate things, but I'm not prepared to say I'm ready to amend it without knowing both sides a little more clearly. So I would not be in favor of jumping on this tonight either.
No, I'm just saying the 21 at dispensaries, that's a legal requirement under the Cannabis Act, and both Cannabis Acts in Illinois.
But there's no requirement for Lakeside or 7-Eleven or the Amoco station to do anything.
That's my understanding.
They could sell it to 12-year-olds if they
But
wanted to. And then,
Yeah, that's my understanding, is that Lakeside is enforcing a 21-year-old rule, 21 years old. That doesn't mean that somewhere else could sell it at 18.
right.
It also doesn't mean is it behind the counter or on the shelves? Can they get it? Can they shoplift it or take it? Or is it behind the counter?
So it's located adjacent to the alcohol and CBD drinks, behind what is behind their general area of their counter. Believe it looked like it was a locked, clear cabinet when I checked this evening.
Okay, well, that's good.
So, I was going to say, Chief, are they selling the THC products and the Kratom products?
I didn't see Kratom there tonight.
Okay. It doesn't sound like there's any dispute about THC being banned. It's the Kratom. It's the non-synthesized Kratom that I think we need to learn a little bit more about. So it's just that portion, as Mr. Hemmings pointed out, it's just this one product, pure Kratom, I guess, is the way I put it, that maybe we need a little more knowledge on. But the THC and the rest of it, it sounds like there's sort of unanimous agreement that those should be banned.
Yeah, I'd do that tonight.
So
what are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that we do a little bit of tweaking on the products that were mentioned here, that if there's a way to regulate that, to know that we're receiving a good product is being dispensed. If we can't ensure that it's good product, then we shouldn't.
Well, since the industry isn't regulated, that's the whole
I
problem.
mean, that's the challenge. So I think we don't really understand that part of it.
Well, and I think part of the thing I'm struggling with is whatever we decide doesn't prohibit people from buying Kratom or TCH, if it's sold outside of our limits. I think we're not saying that people are denied the ability to buy it, because I'm sure it's readily available everywhere if they're selling it at Lakeside. I think it's just particularly the fact that Lakeside and some other places, we don't have a dispensary, to your point. We've taken that pretty seriously. So I think that is part of it too. That we can exempt out maybe for tonight Kratom, but not so sure it's going to be permitted, right? I mean, I think that's something we have to talk about.
Yeah.
What do you guys want to do?
I think we table it.
Defer it, right? Is that
Defer it, table it, whatever.
Is that defer?
Continue to
Well,
the
we're-
next meeting.
We're 2 for 2 tonight on the ordinances. I go 8 years, we don't defer anything, and then my last meeting, we defer both items. That's
Yeah.
great. Are we all in agreement to defer? I agree too. I mean, this is a little bit more complicated than I understand. I will say this, I am concerned about these sorts of products in general being sold at establishments that when I drive by at 3:30 in the afternoon, there's nothing but bicycles there. It is. I mean, I used to hang out at 7-Eleven too, but I couldn't buy THC derivatives when I was 12 either. So those are the things we have to think about, obviously. And clearly, if now I'm going to say something really stupid. I wish the FDA would just get their act in gear. If this is such a good product and so effective and is helping so many people, they should get off their rear end and do something to protect this, because it's obviously being put into a big bucket with a lot of other things that we don't want our children to have access to. And I have to say, I mean, as I'm driving around the city, I'm doing a lot of work in the neighborhoods these days, and you see the shops, you know, Kratom, big signs all over the place. It is definitely not something we want to see here in Winnetka. So, okay, so we have agreement to defer? Sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Chief. And thank you guys for coming and at least having us think about it a little bit more. Appreciate that.
And to help educate us,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It was worth the 6 minutes.
I did send an email with lots of information in it, and I'm willing to come back and work with all of you.
We might take you up on that. Okay, see you later, guys. Okay, so we've deferred that. So we move forward. Item 10, old business, there's none. Item 11, new business, there's none. 12, appointments, none. And 13, closed session. I would like to ask for a motion to adjourn to closed session for the purpose of discussing specific personnel and municipal utility contracts relating to the purchase, sale, or delivery of electricity or natural gas pursuant to 2C1 and 2C23 respectively of the Open Meetings Act. Under the motion, when we adjourn the closed session, this public meeting will automatically and immediately adjourn without the conduct of any further business or comments. May I have that motion?
So moved.
Second?
That's a roll call vote.
Trustee Alvinson?
Yes.
Trustee Dahlman?
Yes.
Trustee Apatoff?
Yes.
Trustee Orsic?
Yes.
Trustee Dearborn?
Yes.
We are adjourned into closed session. Thanks.